Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? It is currently 9:58 p.m. It's cold outside. It is 52 degrees, but it feels colder than that. I'm looking for a stamp. I might be completely out of stamps. I'm looking for a stamp to put on this bill for my HOA fees, which I thought I brought with me. Did I bring it with me? Yeah, here it is. I think I might have one. Oh, I have one stamp left. Can you believe it? Oh, what a day. What a day, what a day, what a day. Have you ever had those days where you just have cried so much you feel cried out? That is how I feel today. So, I'm just gonna get into this right at the beginning. I was actually, this lip balm is completely gone. I hardly have any left in here. I've got like 2 more tubes or 1 more tube inside. I've had just a rough day. It's just been a really rough day, and I don't even really know where to start in talking about this, but I just feel like I need to start talking about it other than talking about other stuff in my day and whatever, because this is just pretty much consumed the later part of my day. The earlier part of my day was making videos and stuff, and that's whatever. So this is probably gonna be a real emotional video, although I've cried so much today. Alex and I both have cried so much that I really honestly feel kind of cried out at the moment, but that might change in a second. We got some pretty upsetting news about Tucker today. So I haven't really talked a lot about this on here because, in all honesty, when stuff was going on with Pee-Pee, especially at the end, when Pee-Pee was the sickest, it really seemed I can't even speak. It really seemed to bring out like the sickest trolls who said the cruelest stuff, and I just really wasn't in a position to hear some of the things that they said, and it was really hard. And you know, I've always, like, in vlogging for the last almost 5 years, I can't believe it's been like every day almost for the last 5 years, but I've just like shared my life and stories of my life and things that I'm going through and things I've went through and what that's like, you know, and to have, it's one thing to have somebody like attack your opinion or something like that, but to say cruel things while you're going through something really tough, it's really hard. So I just really didn't say anything about what's going on until like we knew what was going on. And this really is just happened in the last 2 to 3 weeks. So I mean, it's really new. So anyway, I'll just share with you what happened. And the reason why I'm sharing it with you guys is because I share everything with you guys that I'm going through. So, and so many of you are always, you know, it's one thing to look at that side, but then it's the other side of all the compassion and the kindness and the love that so many of you have given me. And it's like, that's the majority of what I receive and support for whatever I'm going through. And so many of you share your stories. And also, this is something that I'm going to want to talk about on my vlog. So now that we know what we're dealing with, and that's really what I was waiting for, was like confirmation one way or another of what we're going through, because I really wanted to know before I started talking about it on here. Because, you know, if you say one thing and then 2 weeks later you say something else, it's like, oh, well, you said it was this and now it's this. So I didn't even want to deal with that concerning a pet of mine, because it's been so hard in the past, you know, with like when we were, like I said, like when we were going through this stuff with Pee-Pee, you know. So, we found out a couple years ago, I don't even know when it was, that Tucker had this heart murmur, or he has this heart murmur, and that he has had it for quite some time. And so our vet, who I adore, and part of the problem with this is that she's been on vacation for 2 weeks, and so I've been working with another vet who, in all honesty, I adore her as well. And when I went to the vet today to pick Tucker up, I said to her, I said, you know, like, I want to schedule an appointment with our vet because I know her so well. I said, but you've just been so, she's young and she just is so direct and so compassionate. And I started bawling on the phone today talking to her, and she just was so sweet with me on the phone, but at the same time, like, very good with me too, you know, like, not just like, oh, poor baby, but like very good with me. So Tucker's had this heart murmur that we have been watching, and they've always said to us, until there are physical symptoms, you know, don't worry about like what's going on. Like, we'll just keep a close eye on it, do his regular checkups twice a year for a senior dog, which it kills me to even think of like a senior dog, you know. And then until there are like any physical symptoms. And I didn't really know what that meant. Like, they never said to us, this is what physical symptoms will look like. So, the last vacation that we got back from Las Vegas, what was that, two and a half weeks ago, something like that. We got back, and like within a day or two, Tucker started coughing. And we both panicked pretty hard because, like, Tucker's gotten out of breath in the past, and I've called and asked the vet about that, and they're like, you know, well, I mean, he's, you know, just an older dog, but like Boo Radley, like, runs all over the place, you know. And I always compare the two of them, and they're completely different dogs, you know, which is what one of the things the vet said to me today. She's like, even though they're litter mates, they're completely different dogs, you know. And so we noticed that he was coughing, so I got an appointment and I got him in right away. And like whatever the next day was at that point. And so they like checked him for everything from like Bordatello, kennel cough, to whatever. And they sent us home and they said, let's try him on Benadryl. So we were giving him a Benadryl a day, but it didn't really seem to do anything to the cough, because they thought maybe it was like allergies or something like that. They were like, this doesn't seem, they hurt his lungs and everything, and our vet was like, his lungs and his heart seem really clear, but without an electrocardiogram, like, I can't really see what's really going on. And she's like, so, you know, we're gonna have to check that. So we got him home, he's on, you know, this stuff, and then, like, Alex noticed one night, this was like 2 or 3 days after that he was panting really heavy, and that he was like, couldn't catch his heart was like, and he was like, so, of course, then we're panicked again. So I called the vet, and she's like, well, bring him back in. So brought him back in, and she's like, I don't really know what's going on. She was like, but they did x-rays at that point. But they couldn't really find anything from the x-rays. And she said, you know, this was a new vet. The other vet is like out of town at this point. This is mid to late last week. And so she's like, I'm gonna have to recommend an I don't know what it's called. I have it on the sheet over here. But anyway, and she said, but we don't do, the only people that do it are like people that like specialize in that, like dog cardiologists or Purdue University, which is a teaching vet school. And she was like, but they do come down here 2 to 3 days a week to several different vets in the Indianapolis area, and we can have them see Tucker. And I was like, perfect, let's do that. And so we scheduled it for today. And in between then, there would be days where he was coughing, and then there would be days that he wasn't. But he seems like so happy, so good. Like, he just doesn't seem like a sick dog. Like, when when the coughing was, okay, like on a bad day for Tucker, like there have been some mornings I've woken up and it's literally he's coughing every other 5 minutes. And then there's been days where he doesn't cough at all. At this point with Pee-Pee was coughing every day, and Pee-Pee seemed really, really tired. Like, and the coughing seemed to wear him out. Tucker doesn't seem that way. But of course, I'm comparing both of the stories, right? And so I just had in my gut, and I don't know what it is. I call it intuition. I don't know. I just had a bad feeling about this appointment today. I just was like, we're going to get bad news. And it wasn't me being a pessimist, because I'm usually not. I'm usually, you know, like, I'm usually positive about things like this. But I had a bad feeling about this. And so we had to take him in this morning. And, so Alex dropped him off at 7 o'clock, and then they were going to call as soon as he was done. Well, I got like all my stuff done, and then it was like 3 o'clock and we hadn't heard from them. So I texted Alex and I was like, have you heard from them? And he was like, no. You haven't either? And I was like, no. And I said, well, let me call and find out what's going on. So I called, and they put the vet on like immediately, and she was like, I was just actually getting ready to call you to see if you want me to do the situation. She was like, but I need to talk to you about what's going on first. And I said, okay. She was like, they did the, whatever it is. And she said, and they found that he has advanced heart disease. I almost can't even say it because it's like literally the exact same diagnosis that Pee-Pee had. So I feel like we're like on the exact same road, you know, like we're going to go through the exact same thing as we did with Pee-Pee, and it's the exact same medications and everything. And I'm just like, I can't go through all this again, you know? So she's like, it's advanced heart disease. They did find that he had an enlarged heart on, whatever it is. And she's like, so they're recommending blood work, and they're also recommending that we start him on Lasix immediately. And then there's 2 other medications that they say that we start after the blood work comes in. Like, let's see the results from the blood work. And so she was like, but she's like, and they're also recommending that we do an x-ray of the heart next week, which I'm confused about that, because they did the x-ray before, but I guess it was for something else. I don't know. So she said, well, do you want me to do the blood work today? And I said, absolutely. Go ahead, do the blood work. And so then she's like, but I'm recommending that we start the Lasix because I think it'll make him feel a little bit better. And I remember Lasix. So Lasix it's a diuretic. It's the one that Pee-Pee was on. It was the one that made him like thirsty. And so here's the other thing, right? So we start him on the Lasix, which I feel like with Pee-Pee, that was not one of the first meds that we started. I feel like we started that like a little bit down the road, because I do know that with the Lasix is what made Pee-Pee's kidneys work over time, and then Pee-Pee was in kidney failure. So all of this is in my head. I'm going like and I'm asking her like all these questions and all this kind of stuff. But like, as soon as she said that to me, I was like, you know, of course I'm just fixated on the end. And I really, to be honest, as nice as she is, I really just wanted to talk to our vet, because like, I feel like I've been there with her on this before. So she's like, okay, well, I'm going to do the blood work today, and then I'll call you tomorrow, and then we can make a decision on whether or not you want to start the meds tomorrow, and then we can bring him in. You can bring him in next week for the x-ray of the heart, and we can kind of, at that point, we can see how advanced it is. She's like, this EKG thing, I don't know. I don't understand what the x-ray for the heart is, but it's just further stuff. So I was like, okay, whatever. And she's like talking to me about costs, and I'm like, just do whatever. Just whatever it costs, I don't care, do it. So, so I said to her, you know, she said, if we catch it, and this is the same thing that like the vet said to us before, you know, but this time in my head, I remember, you know, that the vet said to me, I'd like to see him make it to 13 and a half, you know. Well, then later she said to me, I didn't think that he would make it this long, you know. Realistically, I thought 6 months, and I remember that, you know, in my head. So, and PP made it so much longer than she ever thought that he would. And so when I was talking to her on the phone today, I said, realistically, how long are we looking at? And she said, well, I mean, I can't. She's like, I'm not, you know, I can't tell you that. I have no idea. And he's 12. And so I said, well, you said if you caught it early enough. She's like, well, if you catch it early enough, I mean, he can live a full life. And I said, so you're talking 15, 16. Or I think I said 14, 16 or something like that. She goes, well, I'm not saying that. And I said, 6 months? And she said, what I'm saying is, we're not talking about euthanasia today. We're not talking about, you know, choices that you have to make today. And I just was like, oh my God, like seriously, it's this bad? And I just like lost it on the phone, and I started bawling. And she's like, hey, listen. She was like, I can't tell you if we're like, you know, 3 to 6 months out, or if it's like gonna be a year or two. I can't tell. She was like, but some dogs, you know, respond very, very well to the treatment. And I said, but I do know with this that if we start to show, I think the blood work is to find out about his blood pressure, because of his like his rapid heart rate and his panting and stuff or something. She said something to me about blood pressure along the way. So I already know though that like once you start like dogs on these treatments, like you can't like once you start them, you can only go forward. Like they're on the meds for the rest of their life. They told us that with PP, and it's the exact same meds that PP was on. So she was like, let me do the blood work and then you can come in and get him. And I said, okay, because it was like towards the end of the day. Thank God I had all my stuff filmed already, because there was no way that I could have got on camera. I mean, I was bawling. And then like Boo Radley is just like sitting there, and he's like looking at me, and I pick him up. And you know, Alex is at work and he can't talk on the phone really. He stepped outside and called me because he like wanted to hear what I had to say. And so like he's crying and I'm crying, but like I get off the phone with Alex, and you know, I'm texting him trying to like, you know, we're both a mess. And then I'm like, I picked up Boo Radley, and it's just like, you know, when I was talking about the dogs the other day in my video and I got real upset, like I knew this already. Like I knew all this was going on in the background, and that had a big part to do with all of this. And so, you know, as I'm sitting here and I'm talking about like getting older and, you know, like not wanting time to stop and all of that, you know, it's like, I feel like I'm not even over PP yet, let alone now having to lose another one, and it just feels like the end of an era to me, and it just is like so hard. And I picked up little Boo Radley, and I'm sitting there, and he's so confused, you know, and he's like, and Boo Radley is very like attentive when I'm emotional. And so I'm picking him up, and he's licking my ear, and I'm like, it's just gonna be you, buddy. Like, it's just gonna, and like, that was my fear all along. Like, I mean, I didn't want any of them to go, but my fear was always that Boo Radley would be like the last one left by himself. And so it's like, on top of the fact that I'm like losing the sweetest dog in the entire world. In fact, on the vet thing at the bottom, they said something about Tucker is such a, they said something, they typed something on there, I was reading it in the car, and they said, Tucker is always such a sweet boy for us. And he is, he's just like such a sweet boy, like, he's so good, he never, he's just a sweet dog. He's like one of the sweetest dogs I've ever had, you know, in my life. And he's one of the sweetest dogs I've ever known in my life. So here I am, And I'm trying not to borrow trouble, right? Like, it could be 2 years, but I also know that, like, I learned so much going through that process with PP of just, like, being present and enjoying the moment and all that stuff. But it's like, I also know that I'm on limited time now, like, in a way that I didn't think. Like, foolishly, I thought, like, Tucker and Boo Radley would make it to 18 or 19. I don't know why. Like, I just thought they're, you know, they were, the vet always told us they're such healthy dogs, they're such healthy dogs, they're so healthy, you know. We got their teeth out just in February. I mean, part of me was beating myself up about that today. I thought, God, if I knew the little guy, you know, although Tanya is like, every time, you know, the dogs are at the kennel, she's always like, they seem so much happier to me now that they've had their, you know, teeth out and whatever. And they do, they seem so much happier, but it's kind of like, part of me is like, I don't know, like, I would have just let Tucker keep his teeth or something, you know. I know it's stupid. I know it's stupid, but... So here it is, you know, I feel like I'm losing this sweetest dog. And then Boo Radley, who's so completely confused by everything in the world, is gonna be all by himself. You know, and I had a couple people today tell me, they're like, have you thought about getting another dog? And I know they mean it just with, like, total kindness. But, like, Alex is not convinced he ever wants another dog again. Okay, so here's just the deal. PP was so hard for Alex to go through that whole situation that Alex at that time, like, he was basically like, if this is what you have to go through to have a life with a dog, like, I've done it once. I love that dog with all my heart. I don't know that I can do it again. I don't know that after 2 or 3 dogs, my husband is ever going to be in a position to have a dog. Like, the emotional pain that it put him through and still puts him through. I mean, like, we were just both a complete mess tonight, you know? And Alex is super hopeful. He's like, now let's wait until the vet gets back next week. Let's wait until the x-rays and the blood work. And I'm like, okay. You know, but I'm already like, you know, here we go. So, I mean, he's a little bit more hopeful than me, which is interesting because he's usually just so pragmatic in situations like this. But, you know, Alex isn't convinced that he ever wants a dog again. And if we do get another dog, he only ever wants 1 dog again. Like, he's made that very clear. He's like, we're not ever going to do this 2 and 3 dog thing again. It's too much. It's too much work. And he's like, and he was like, you get so emotionally bonded to these dogs. And I mean, I get emotionally bonded to effing hotel rooms. You know what I mean? Like, so let alone a living creature that I have a life with, you know? And, so recently in talking about it, I would say in the last year, we came to an agreement that, probably about a year ago, we came to an agreement that, because I told Alex, I said, I'll always have a dog. And he was like, I know. He was like, you know, but... So the agreement that we came to was we weren't going to get any more dogs until Boo and Tucker were gone. Number one, because, well, now with Tucker, I'm not going to get a dog when he's sick. Like, I'm not going to focus all my attention on a new puppy while Tucker is sick and needs my attention. I just don't feel right about doing that. I don't want to get a new dog with Boo Radley because Boo Radley will be confused. I just don't think that he'll understand it, you know? It's like, all he's ever known is, he doesn't even like our neighbor dogs, you know? Like, he's so scared of them that like today I like took them outside and then the neighbor dog was like coming out the door and like Boo Radley like just like ran to the like glass door and was just like standing there like, let me in, let me in, let me in. Like, he doesn't like other dogs. He's very scared of them. And he always kind of like stands behind Tucker, and you know, Tucker like will bark at whatever dog is there, and Boo Radley's standing. I mean, I just don't know how it's gonna work, you know? I just am like, and you know, and Boo Radley probably will live to be 19 or 20, honestly, you know? I was feeling his little heart rate tonight, and Boo Radley's heart rate's like this. Boom, 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 boom. And you know, everybody always thinks he's so skinny, but like when I take him to the vet, they're like, he is like in perfect health. Like, his weight is perfect, everything's perfect. You know, like today I said to him, they were outside, and I said, Boo, I said, it's dinner time. And so like, I mean, he came bolting across the yard. So yeah, this is This is what's going on. I just almost can't even believe it. I don't know, and maybe tomorrow, you know, when she gets the blood work back, she'll say something different. I did say to her, I said, you know, she said, if you want to wait until, you know, your vet gets back, to wait and talk to her about like starting the medication and stuff. And I said, listen, I said, you have been fantastic and you are amazing, because she's the one I had to go to last week too, because my vet's been on vacation for like 2 weeks. I said, you have been fantastic and amazing. And I said, and if we didn't already have a vet that we love, I would come to you. I said, I've been through this with her. I feel more comfortable with her. And she was like, hey, I get it. She was like, I totally understand. You know, I just feel like so blessed. We have the most amazing vets in the world, and I'm so thankful for them. And they're just, I think like with any form of like doctor, it's like a fine line between being compassionate and being direct. And I don't even know like how you get there. I don't know. I think it's... So then Alex, he had this dinner plan that he had to go to, so he went to this dinner, and then, because he had to, he couldn't cancel it at the last minute, so he went to that, and then he came home, and we were just hanging out in bed with the dogs, and talking about what was going on, and just being a mess, and you know, Boo Radley's asleep on the pillow, and there's Tucker, just playing with his lady, like nothing's going on in the world, and you know, like the last 3 days, he hasn't coughed at all. But this is where I got with PP too. Like, I held on to any scrap of hope, like anything. I held on to anything, you know? Just like hoping and praying that this was a good sign. And, there was a period of my life where I thought, like, well, maybe I'd want to go and do something with, like, working with, you know, dogs, or, like, you know, for a veterinary clinic or whatever. And I think back on that, and I think, man, like, I can't handle it. Like, it's too much. I said to her, she came out, she was so sweet. I was standing, like, our vet waiting area is pretty big. And so they have like this round thing where like all the receptionists sit behind. There was like four of them there. And so I was like paying, and like, so she came out to talk to me and went over the sheet with me. She's so sweet and she's so cute too. And she came up and she said, I wanted to go over things with you. I said, you're not going to make me cry. And you're not going to make me cry out here in the lobby in front of all these people, are you? And they could all hear me, right? And they all kind of like laughed. But she said, no. She said, I'm just going to go over basically the same things that we talked about on the phone. And I said, okay. And then I sat down and I was waiting forever. And there was this other woman out there that was like just the two of us finally that were waiting for our dogs to be brought out. And so when the technician brought Tucker out, she said, we didn't even recognize, she said, he's been such a good boy today. And I said, aw. And she said, we didn't even recognize him because he's all groomed. And I said, yeah, they just had their grooms. She said, he looks so nice. And of course, Tucker's little tongue is sticking out, you know, and he got so excited when he saw me. And she was like, there's your dad, there's your dad. And then the other woman was like turning around, she's like, he's so cute. And I was like, thanks. I just can't even believe that we're going through this again. guys, like, in all honesty, like, I hate saying this, but, like, they make me happier than anything else in the world. Those two little guys make me happier than anything else in the world, you know? And I feel like damn thing stopped. I was crying. And I feel like I've already lost, like, my best friend and soulmate in PP, you know? It's like... Well, I wanted to update you guys on what was going on because I wanted to be able... I was actually going to do it on my Peter Does Stuff channel today because I just was, like, in such a place to, like, get it out. You ever just feel like you want to get it out and get it out now? You don't want to say it 5 times, but, like, I was like, no, you know, like, the vloggerino's over there. Which is so nice that you guys started that group for me. I appreciate it, or for you guys, really, but it's nice, you know? And I'm like... They've been so supportive of me through everything, through PP and my aunt and, you know, everything that I've gone through since I've been on YouTube. It's like, I feel like I owe it to them to, like, share the story with them first before talking about it anywhere else. And, you know, I guess all I'd ask is that you just be, you know, prayerful and hopeful if you believe in prayer, for I do. And for Tucker, and, you know, I remember, like, when I was talking to her about PP, you know, and there was PP sitting there, he was completely fine, you know, and, you know, I said to her, like, how long do you think he'll make it? And she said, I was just, like, trying to figure out why I was driving through here, and I was like, oh, I have to mail this HOA fee. This HOA fee, can I just tell you about these people? Do you know that these, and, like, my whole neighborhood is all older people, and I feel bad for them, so... If you pay it online, I've never even heard of this with anything else, ever. If you pay it online, it's a $20 surcharge. It's like $22 or something surcharge every time you pay. So on top of the $431 HOA fees that are about to go up, they charge you $22 on top of that. Don't you think that's ridiculous? Over those people. That's the maintenance company. That's not our HOA. I mean, that's our HOA fees, but our maintenance company is... Well, I guess it's the board that sets the new rate or whatever. I don't know. But I remember when I was talking to the vet about PP, I could see myself still standing there. And I said to her, well, like, how long do you think that he'll live? And she said, I'd like to... At the time... I think that's the other thing, is, like, the timing. It's like, Tucker is, you know, I was talking to a friend of mine today who had lost a dog, like, around the exact same age of the exact same thing. And, it's like, PP got diagnosed at almost the exact same age. Because he was just he was 4 months short of 14 years old. And she said, I'd like to see him make it to 13 and a half. And, and I can remember I just lost it. And she said, Peter, she was like after I settled down a little bit, she goes, Peter, you know, dogs don't live forever. And I said, you know, you could tell me that he was going to live to be 45 and I would start bawling. Like, I just can't imagine him being gone ever, you know? And, like, even saying it, it's like, it's still so weird to me that he's gone, you know? Like, I came inside today, and this is before, like, this is after I got off the phone, this was before I had picked him up, and, like, Boo Radley was, like, in the bed thing in the living room, I think, and I was, like, standing inside, like, right when I walked in I was putting something in the garage, like, boxes, and I was standing there, and, I was like, this is what it'll be like. Like, this is what it'll be like when I have no dogs. You know, when there's, like, nobody here keeping me company during the day, and Boo and Tucker have long been gone, and, you know, and then, like, will Boo Radley remember Tucker? I don't think he remembers Pee-Pee. They haven't spent a day apart their entire life. Like, they've been together every single day. I was going to read the things that they said on here on the vet list. Reason for visit, cardiology consultation to evaluate heart murmur. Diagnostics performed, physical examination, grade 5-6, left apical systolic murmur. Electrocardiogram, sinus arrhythmia. Electrocardiogram, advanced mitral valve disease, cardiomegaly, enlargement of the heart, as well as suspected early congestive heart failure. Blood pressure, total body function blood work. Call you with the results. She said she'd call me tomorrow. And then it says Tucker was administered an injection of Lasix as recommended by the cardiologist. And then the drugs that they are recommending for heart failure, for congestive heart failure. And then they recommend radiographs, chest x-rays in 7 to 10 days. Treatment plan after blood work results come back. And then repeating an echocardiogram in 6 months. And they said, he is such a sweet boy. They thank you for entrusting us with Tucker's care. He is such a sweet boy, they wrote in. They typed in. Oh, man. I wish I had a hot cup of coffee. But you know what I do have in here? Because of my allergies the other day, I have, well, a little bit, 1 square of toilet paper. I thought I had more than that. I do. Well, you know, like the thing is, like this is what goes along with life, you know, it's like, it'd be easy to just sit here and say, like, I've had so much loss, or, you know, whatever. I have. But in the spectrum of things, I've probably had just as much loss as everybody else has had. Doesn't make me special, it doesn't make me unique, but it doesn't make it easy. I remember talking to my dad before they got their new dog, because they got a new dog a couple years ago. I remember we talking about that on here. And I said something to my dad about it on the phone, and like, he really didn't. It's so funny because this dog is like turned into his dog now. But like, I mean, it's both their dogs, but like, he's like obsessed with this dog. It's like this little Yorkie that really never grew into its legs. It has these long legs. They've had Yorkies forever. They had an Airedale and a Yorkie when I was growing up, but that was like the first 2 dogs, and then ever since then they've had Yorkies. And I said to my dad on the phone, I can remember saying something to him about, like, he was real resistant to getting the dog. Like, he was like, oh, your stepmom wants this dog, and, you know, I'm sure I'll break down and whatever. And I think really what his fear was is that he was going to fall in love with this dog, because he said to me on the phone call, he probably even remember this if I said it to him, but he said, you know, I just don't know that I'm willing to accept, or said something like that. Like, it just is weird for me to accept or to think that this is like the last dog that I'll ever have in my life. You know, and it's weird. It's like you come to to a point in your life, like, you know, I was talking last night about seeing that dad at Cheesecake Factory, but like, I think what's harder for me to like accept, this dad was like 60, 55 or 60, and he had like a 4-year-old or 5-year-old, 3 or 4-year-old probably. And I just was like, God, I can't even imagine starting that late in life again, you know. But like, I don't think normal people think about it. Maybe people whose parents are alive and are in their 80s and they haven't really lost a lot of friends or whatever, maybe they don't think about stuff the way that I do. I don't know. Maybe that's a gift, you know. But like, I started losing people so early in life that I feel like now it's just like, I don't really have any, like, other than the people that I have in my life today that I've made in the last 10 years, it's like everybody from my past is gone, except for like Caroline and my dad and my stepmom, you know. So it's like, I don't know. I'm so all over the place emotionally about this. And I think the hardest thing right now for Alex and I, other than hearing the news, is that, like, and I probably, if I went back and watched my vlogs, I probably said the same thing about PP. But, like, Tucker seems fine. Like, he seems completely fine. But he's not. Well, let me get my mind off this for a second and talk about some other things. So, I finished the Mary Shelley Club. It was fantastic. I would have given it 5 stars, but it didn't really have any, like, profound, like, thing to it. But I was scared. It was a really good young adult book. It was, it was a really good, scary young adult book. So, I finished that. I don't know when... You know, I write this damn check on, like, 2 days before the end of the month every year, or every month. It's always ready by, like, the 1st. The check is sitting on the kitchen counter, or the kitchen island. The check for our HOA, it sits out there for 20 days, right? And then I mail it the last week. Well, do you know what these... I sound so bad. Do you know what these people... I almost said MF first. Do you know what these people did? I've never once, ever, missed a payment or been late on a payment, okay? My mother lived there since 94, okay, December of 94. She was never late or missed a payment. So, in what, 26 years? Because that's when I got sober that month. She moved in there. My mom moved into the condo the month that I got sober. So, 26 years and 10 months of never once missing a payment. Last month, I mailed mine in, and I mailed it, like, well, it was 2 months ago. I mailed it on, like, the 26th, and they said they didn't, and, like, the 29th and 30th were on a weekend or something like that. I don't know. Whatever month it was, I don't know. It was July or August, probably. Whatever that month was on that weekend, they, or whatever weekend ended, whatever month ended on a weekend, that's when it was, because they were like, oh, you know, like, we didn't get your payment in time before the end of the month. So they charged me $35 for a late fee on that. I'm just like, you people must be desperate for money or something like that. $35 for a late fee. And not willing, after 26 years and 10 months of not one missed payment or late payment ever, not willing to budge at all. Like, I was like, are you kidding me? I think I'm just gonna start going in and paying like 6 months in advance is what I'm gonna start doing, so I don't even have to mess with them anymore. I do need to fill out the paperwork and sign it though, from the amended covenant, because I talked to my neighbor across the street, and she was telling me that on the back of it, there's this thing they changed that now says what we're responsible for and what they're responsible for. This is the board. This is the HOA. This is the management company. And what the what the HOA is responsible for now, it takes away like everything. Like, they're not responsible for painting the condos. They're not responsible for what do you call it? They're not responsible for fixing roofs. They're not responsible for your deck. And I'm like, okay, why are we paying an HOA fee then? Not to mention, when I tell people in Indianapolis that live in condos what my HOA fee is, and I'm like, it's $431 a month, they're like blown away. They're like, are you kidding me? Like, our HOA fee is like half of that, and we thought ours was expensive. So if our HOA fees, which are supposed to go towards maintenance of the community, and also a pool and snow removal, which for these poor older people in our neighborhood, they don't ever... You see all these 80-year-olds out there shoveling snow, because even if it snows 1.5 feet, they don't do snow removal until the last snowflake has fallen. That's the rule, right? They don't salt the neighborhood. Literally, the neighborhoods around us, because we're like in the middle of a neighborhood, literally the neighborhoods around us will be like all cleared of snow. Oh, the battery is dying. Let me just pull in here. I'm like right across from like Richie Woods. Let me pull in here to one of these office buildings that maybe don't have cars in them, so I don't get super scared. Okay, here, I'm gonna pull in here and change the battery. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, there are 4 ways that you can put a battery into a camera, right? I'm sitting here in the dark. So you put it in one way, like that. Turn it around, it doesn't fit that way. That's 2, okay? Turn the battery over, put it in the other way like that, and then the 4th way. How many times do you think it took me to get the battery in? 4 times, okay? And it got stuck in there almost because I couldn't get it out. So anyway, so all of these things, can you not get out this way? Oh my gosh, I thought you could get out this way. All of these things the HOA is supposed to pay for, it's like they're taking those off of their responsibility list. Oh, but wait a second. They're raising our HOA fees this year. I'm like, can somebody explain to me how these 9 fools on the HOA board even come up with this crap? And so apparently now, because they were trying to keep it from their having to be in-person meetings and whatever. Like, so, oh, by the way, somebody commented to me and they said, you should not be talking about your HOA, like your HOA and your HOA board, like that's private manager, not allowed to talk about that. It's my HOA board. I pay $431 a month for it. I'll talk about it all day long in my videos if I want to. I don't care. I'll talk about it 10 videos in a row if I want. There's nothing they can do about it. What are they going to do? I'll say I paid my fees. Where does it say in your covenant I can't talk about it? You know, I can talk about it wherever I want. Interview me for a magazine. I'll talk about it. So anyway, I'm sitting there and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, is this for real that they are really doing this? And so I'm just like, I'm blown away. I'm absolutely blown away. She was like, yeah. She was like, you have a deck, right? And I go, yeah. And she's like, so the decks aren't going to be their responsibility more to fix. Like, we got a brand new deck like 3 years ago. Like, they built a brand new deck for us because our deck that was 20 years old was crumbling to pieces. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, they can tell us that we can't build a new deck, but they won't fix our deck for us. Is that how it works? Okay. But they can tell us that we have to power wash our deck. So that was the thing last year. Remember that? I couldn't find somebody to come out and power wash our deck. Okay. I didn't even ask for approval for them. Alex, the guy that did our power washing and repainted it and sealed it, he's like, he's the husband of a friend of Alex's, and he is such a nice guy. And not to mention good looking. All the neighbor women were like, who's that guy that's working? I was like, he's a friend of ours. So anyway, but he built a door because Alex had bought this thing. Did I tell you about this? He like put this thing, this guy built a door for our patio. So like the dogs can just sit out there and then they can't get off the patio. And then the neighbor dog, because the neighbor dog would come on our patio and he would like, I'd be sitting out there. I'd be looking outside and he'd be like sitting on our couch out there. He's hilarious. But anyway, I'm like so over this whole HOA thing. I'm like, and people are like, I love when I talk about it, and people are like, oh, you should never have an HOA. What are your options? I mean, I didn't realize I had an option. I mean, you live in a neighborhood, and you have a neighborhood association. Most neighborhoods have HOAs here in Indiana. Like, if you live just like in a neighborhood, look, I was kind of surprised. I was talking to Tanya about it tonight, and I was like, you don't have an HOA, do you? And she's like, oh, yeah. And I was like, you pay HOA fees? And she's like, yeah, annually, though. But she's like, I mean, because she lives in a house. But she was like, annually. She was like, but they're not that expensive. And I was like, well, what does your HOA say? And she's like, it's just a board like yours is. She was like, I mean, they don't tell us as much as like yours does, because yours is a condo community. She was like, but ours will tell us like you have to keep the lawn trimmed or like lawn cut. You have to like, you know, keep your yard work up just to make the neighborhood like look nice and stuff like that. And that's really the reason for most HOA boards, is to just like keep the community, you know, working and in check. And for so long, that's how ours was. I feel like what's happened is we have like a lot of like really power hungry people that have nothing else to do with their lives other than just trying to control the lives of others in this neighborhood. And I'm like, listen, it ain't gonna be me. You're not gonna control this one right here, okay? Because I'll put on there, I'll write in on a vote, because you can write in like things to vote for. And I'm gonna say, if they vote for us to be responsible for all of our own things, then I don't think we should pay an HOA fee anymore. You know, let's pay $10 a month for maintenance. For how much of a maintenance of a pool could that be? It isn't $800 a month, and I know that. When they have somebody in our neighborhood go and do the pool every day, and he cleans it and checks it and everything like that, the pool people come out like one time a month. So I know that it's not costing us $800 a month. So if each of us paid, you know, even if we paid $50 a month times, I don't know how many condos there are, you know, 60 or something, that's $3,000 a month that the HOA board would have. They have so much money too in their purse, and they're always like, oh, we don't know that we can afford a new tree for Mrs. Smith. Her tree fell down, but it's gonna be expensive. We'll all have to vote on a $100 tree. Give Mrs. Smith her damn tree. You know what I mean? It's stupid. It's so stupid. I don't even get it. If we got a lot more out of our HOA, then I would totally understand it. But it's like year by year, they've taken a little bit more away and all this kind of stuff. There are people that live outside of our neighborhood. Okay, so we're on these lakes, right? Well, we're not on a lake, but like the neighbors across the street, they're on a lake. So there's 2 lakes in our neighborhood. Well, outside of the one lake, there's like 4 houses one way, and like 4 or 5 houses one way and 4 or 5 houses the other way. And those families that live on those lakes, because part of the HOA fee goes towards lake maintenance, which means they stock the lakes with fish so people can go fish. They stock the lakes with fish so people can go fishing, which is, nobody in our neighborhood goes fishing. It's always kids. And you always it looks very family-ish to me, where you'll see these kids that, like, with their bikes, you know, to the side, and they're like fishing off these ponds, and then a bunch of old people yelling at them, do you even live in this neighborhood? You're not supposed to fish here if you don't live in this neighborhood. And it's like these poor families, they have to pay like $150, $200 a month for HOA fees, and all they get is lake maintenance, which we all have to pay for lake maintenance. I don't even live on a lake. Lake maintenance, and then they get to use the pool and the tennis court. They don't get snow removal. They don't get any work on no yard work. Like with ours, at least they like mow the lawn every, you know, I think they mow it every week. I thought it was every other week, but I think it's every week. I will say that, like, the landscaping in our neighborhood is absolutely beautiful. It's beautiful. It's mature trees, and it's, you know, the bushes, and they have flowers all through the summer and the spring. I mean, they keep it really, really nice. I mean, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful in there. And I'm very thankful for that. I mean, that's part of why I like living in there. The neighborhood is gorgeous. But I don't know that it's $431 gorgeous. And, you know, I'm kind of at a point now where it's like, it's $431. What are you going to do? Make it $481? Okay, add $50 to it. What's the difference, you know? But I want to know what my $50 is going towards, if they're going to raise it. And not just because of cost of living either, you know? Alex will engage in none of these conversations with me, by the way. He could care less about the HOA stuff. He thinks it's hilarious when I bring it up. He's just like, why do you care? He was like, I said, because, like, they're going to try to come into our house. He's like, no, they're not. I'm like, what do you mean? He's just like, my cousin Caroline's the exact same way. She's like, they don't have that right. And I'm like, well, if we sign it, she's like, they don't have that right. And I'm like, Caroline, she's like, I'm a realtor, trust me, I know these things. I'm like, okay. But she's like, they can't do that. And then I was sitting there, and it was funny because I was like driving through our neighborhood tonight. Well, this was actually when I was going to pick up Tucker, and I had just talked to my one neighbor about, like, they can tell you what you have to do with your walkway in your, like, front yard. So, like, they can't tell you, like, well, you have to plant peonies instead of, you know, mums or something. I don't even know, but you know what I'm saying. But they can't tell you that. But, like, they can tell you have to clean it up, and then it needs to look nice, right? Okay. But I'm like, there's like two condos in our neighborhood. Like, I was driving by this one condo tonight, and they have literally this, like, 3 foot by 3 foot big, like, flower petal thing. It's like gray and blue, like, metal. And I don't have an issue with it. It's pretty, right? Like, it would be pretty anywhere else. It's not pretty in our neighborhood. It doesn't match the buildings. It doesn't match the color. Maybe it means something to her. I hope it does, right? And I've driven by it a bunch of times, and I'm just like, I never really thought much about it. You know, we've got people in our neighborhood that have those, I don't love those garden globes, that, you know, those shiny ones, and gnomes. People have gnomes in their yard. None of that stuff is real appealing to me, but it's like, hey, it's your yard, do you? You know what I mean? Like, I don't really care. But people do take a pride in their yard and put those things up there, and I thought, well, what if we started going around and telling people, like, they couldn't have that, like that flower petal on the side of their house? It's literally about half their wall of their garage because it's so big. Like, well, what if we told them they couldn't have that? Like, when do we stop with all this stuff? I mean, hell, for the majority of the people that live in there, this is their last stop, you know? Like, I hate saying it like that. I mean, I know that sounds horrible, but it truly is. Like, this is their last stop. And then I got so sad the other day. Was I dreaming this? I'm gonna have to talk to... I bet I was dreaming it. Oh my God, I'm having the most realistic dreams. I dreamed that I was talking to my neighbor as he was walking his dog, and he was talking about how they were gonna move to another condo. They had found another condo neighborhood that they really liked, and I thought, God, we finally get somebody that I love as a neighbor. Well, the people that lived in there before, we didn't know them. They had the condo. They're the ones that revamped the condo. Man, they threw like $100,000 in that place. It is gorgeous inside. They put crown molding in there. They redid the kitchen. I mean, it is unbelievable. But they only had the condo. They lived in southern Indiana. They had the condo because they came to Indianapolis to visit their, like, kids and grandkids. Then they ended up selling that. They told everybody, this was the other thing that was weird. They told everybody in the neighborhood they weren't getting a place in Indianapolis. They were just going to move back to southern Indiana. And then they bought a place, like, literally 2 minutes up the street that's like 100 times nicer. And I'm like, why did you just not? They weren't close with anybody, so it doesn't matter. The people before them, we were pretty close with her. Her husband was out of town. He was like the president of a really big company, and their kids lived here. A lot of our neighborhood is like people move here because their kids and grandkids live here. So they move from other cities to be like near their kids or grandkids. Like, a lot of our neighborhood is that. And so she was like 60. Her best friend actually lives across the street, catty corner to us now, with her new husband, and they are so nice, and I love them. And but her husband was president of a huge company, and so he had to stay in that state. So she came here and got the condo, and then she went back and forth, and then he would come here like on weekends and holidays and stuff like that. They were such a neat couple, and Alex loved her. Oh my God. And they would text like crazy. I think they still do every once in a while, because they bought a house, actually. He retired, and they bought a house like really close to us, like a really nice house. So we've had pretty good neighbors, you know, and then like Laura's lived on the other side of us for a while. I did some videos with her back in the day. She just has like, you know, she'll have like a roommate for 6 months, and then a roommate will move out, but like it's her and her boyfriend over there most of the time. And I mean, she's super easy to get along with. She's had a hard time with the HOA though, and stuff like that. Just like, I feel like they pick on us because we're younger a little bit. I don't know. But anyway, I don't think it helps that her grandma is, like, knows everything about the entire neighborhood. But what else? She's not really like that anymore either. Like, back in the day, she, like, would just, like, walk around the neighborhood. And I think she's gone a lot in the summer. So I think she was gone, like, this entire summer. I don't know. But anyway. I think the other thing is, like, I'm sure if you, before you bought your house and closed on it, if you sat down and read this 110-page covenant that they have, that sure, like, it might make you think twice about moving into this neighborhood. But in all honesty, if you were excited about getting like, I've had a couple people say this, like, I didn't even know there was, like, an HOA covenant that I was supposed to read before I moved in here. They're like, we just closed on our condo, and we were so excited about it that, you know, then I found out, oh, there's this written covenant that we have to follow. You know, and I think that's the other thing. It's like, these people get in there and then they don't know, you know, that, I don't know. Maybe I'll do a rant video about the HOA. I obviously have a lot to say about it. Do you ever just feel emotionally drained? I feel like emotionally, just like, I feel emotionally, I don't know how to explain this. Physically, emotionally drained. Like, I feel just like zapped of energy. And so because of that, I think I'm gonna get off here now. I gotta turn around over here and get gas. I'm like low on gas, and I also have to run inside and go to the restroom. And I might get a cup of hot coffee too, because I'm gonna finish my Alex North book, The Whisper Man, which I will tell you, is very, very scary. I don't even really know how to explain it. It is about a kidnapping, abduction, kidnapping, but there's kind of like paranormal stuff to it. And then like toxic family history. And it's about this dad who, like, is super in love with his wife, and she dies, and then they have a little boy, and he's like 7 in the book. And so to get a fresh start out of the house that the mom died in, they moved to this town called Featherbrook, and it takes place in England somewhere. And so the dad is like a Stephen King kind of writer. And so they move there, and they move into this house that that something happened to the person that used to live in this house. At the same time that there's this investigation going on about this kid that was kidnapped, who is the exact same age as this Jacob kid, Jake, in the book, that just moved into the new town. And then this is also like 25 years ago, there was a similar thing that happened in the area, and it was this guy called the Whisper Man. And the Whisper Man would like whisper into kids' bedroom windows this nursery rhyme that, like, if you leave the door open, blah, 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 whatever. It's this really scary nursery rhyme kind of thing. And so then he would lure the kids outside. He would get the kids to come outside by whispering to them through their windows, and that's how he kidnapped them. And then he killed them. Well, now that Whisper Man he's in jail, but like, somebody is like copycatting these crimes. The detective that used to work on that, and I'm not telling you the whole story, this is literally the very beginning. That cop is like back on the case, but But then on top of all that, there's a paranormal element to it, which is really kind of scary. And whereas that Stephen Graham Jones did not do the paranormal element well, weaving it into the storyline, Alex North does. And actually, he has a new book out, because I was like, the handprint thing looks so familiar to me, and it was because it was just recommended to me on Audible, his new book. So I don't know, I might listen to that one. I don't know, we'll see. I don't know. I think next I'm going to listen to, I really want to listen to a cozy mystery, but I'm like, I got a week and a half until Halloween. So I think the next week I'm going to listen to A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay, which is like this book that's on like all of these scariest books ever lists or whatever. So if I finish this, I'll start listening to that tonight. But I really just want to listen to a cozy mystery. I'm thinking about in November doing an entire month of cozy mysteries other than the book club books. I was actually, for the book club, I was going to start a new cozy mystery series. Like, I was going to pick a book, like book 1 of a cozy mystery series for Peter's book club. And I may still. The other book that I'm looking at possibly is Apples May Fall by Liam O'Riordan, because I want to read it anyway. And Tanya said it was really, really good, and it just came out. So that'll probably be what I pick. But I did start, well, I didn't start it. I bought a new first book in a cozy mystery series, and that's The Chocolate Chip Murder. Chocolate Chip Murder, yeah. And I don't know who it's by, Hannah somebody. They ended up making the first book into a Lifetime movie, and it has like 20 books in the series, and they look really good, and a lot of them are about around Christmas time. So I'm really excited about that. I'll be starting that in November. Like I said, I think I'm gonna read a lot of cozies in November, like one after another cozy, because I'm ready for it. I've had, like, a lot of this has been good this month, but it's been a lot of like dark reading that is like, it's been scary to read a lot of it, and hard to read too, so. Anyway, I want to listen to something to get my mind off stuff that's going on with Tucker. So, thank you guys for listening tonight. And I love you guys so much. I appreciate your support. Thank you for being along for the ride. And I've never said that before. I should have said that, being that I'm on a car ride. But that's not what I meant. But thank you for being along for the ride. And I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya.